Why, hello there, darling. What can I do for you? Well, you must want something from me. Why else would you be out in this weather? There's a perfectly good fire roaring away back at camp. Yet here you are, instead choosing to have a little morning chit-chat. Not that I blame you, of course. I am wonderful company, even on the dreariest of days. But even the promise of good conversation couldn't get me out of my bedroll. The only reason I braved the elements was to feed. The only thing worse than being cold is being cold and hungry. And, unpleasant as the morning frost may be, all the wildlife waking up from a long night make for an easy snack. They pale in comparison to you, of course. But I wanted to spare you the unpleasantness of blood loss on a winter's day. It's dreadful. So I've heard. I can't help noticing you didn't come empty-handed. What's this? A blanket? Aren't you a treasure? Not the most effective thing, is it? Thank you. The gesture is appreciated. Very well. If you insist on staying in this frost, then who am I to deny you? I can't imagine why you would put yourself through this cold to sit with me. But I must say, I'm honored. I'd blush if I could. Now, join me under this flimsy sheet you call a blanket before you catch your death. The experience is quite unpleasant. I speak from experience. No need to worry. I won't bite. This time. Don't complain. Of course I feel cold to the touch. I'm a vampire. We're not known for our warmth. Oh, but how I miss pretending otherwise. There's nothing quite as decadent as a filling meal and lounging about where the wind cannot nip at your nose. I'm used to more temperate climates, darling. A charming peck of frost here and there when it rolls down from the mountain tops. The sort of chill I can sort out by shutting a couple of windows. Yet, through an almost inexplicable amount of bad luck, I find myself in the great outdoors and staking out a goblin camp. Our third one in a week alone. How prodigious! I'm beginning to think you enjoy this sort of torture. Ugh. You know what? It's far too cold for such things. I didn't survive this long to freeze in some god's-forsaken wilderness. Though, from some angles, the snow can be rather beautiful. However, as I am an expert, I can say that beauty only hides away wickedness. I don't recall asking for your input. I am not being sentimental over frozen water from the sky. You're impossible, you know that? Such sentimentality. No, you do have this certain charm about you. I'm certain there are some out there who would enjoy that. Careful. I never said I was one of them. I cannot stand compliments to my character. It leaves the wrong impression. It's far too late for you, I'm afraid. You genuinely enjoy my presence. That's unfortunate. You don't think so? Well, of course you wouldn't. That's the point. This is all reminding me of things back home. Imagine it, darling. The two of us sitting by a crackling fireplace somewhere rather quaint. A small manor, perhaps, tastefully decorated. We're sharing a bottle of a fine red, warmed and spiced to perfection. Not a speck of mud in sight. Wouldn't you rather that to another night out in the forest? Oh, what I wouldn't give for a hot bath right about now. None of this bathing in the ice-cold river after Gale casts fireball on it foolishness. It's unbearable, no matter how much he insists otherwise. These winds bite right through the skin. Not all that different from me. Well, I never gave much thought to the rest of Faerun's climate. It never mattered to me personally. Don't even get me started on how things are in Baldur's Gate this time of year. No, it's exhausting. Do you know how many solstice gatherings I've had to endure? All the laughter and singing. Ugh, much too festive. They expect me to drink their subpar wine and smile as if it's the finest vintage I've ever tasted. That level of dishonesty would be cruel. Besides, I've never much cared for all that nonsense. See, I'm perfectly content enjoying a far more delicious wine in the comforts of my own home. I might even entertain a guest or two for dinner, depending on my appetite. I do tend to get famished after I've had a glass or two. Maybe you're right. We have our own reasons for being out here. And there won't be any comfort in my future if we don't find a way to deal with our tiny stowaways. In that regard, I can put up with some snow days. Only some. I don't plan on making a habit of this. Take Gale, for example. I'd rather take a dip in whatever mire those goblins down there call a well than discuss proper magical applications. Easiest decision of my life. The recent drop in temperature is bad enough. I've only realized it now. I'm complaining about the day. Can you believe it? I must be the first vampire spawn in history to complain about how it feels to be out in the sun. What a novel concept. Oh, do lighten up. You can laugh a little. To think that I started off dreading what awaited us. Then you show up and our talk brings me to laughter. How do you do it? Somehow, you've managed to bring together some of the strangest people I'd never have a desire to know. You know how to make even a miserable morning better. Though, I imagine it's only possible because it is you. How infuriating. I suppose I could spend those mornings with worse company. Not that I have many options to choose from, mind you. As far as this group goes, you might be my favorite. Don't tell Lysel. Or do. I'd love to be a witness to that little conversation. I suppose we do have some more time to talk before we come across the others. So why don't we make the most of it, I'm sure there's plenty more you'd like to hear from me. Well, if you are interested, then might I suggest subscribing to the channel? You might be pleasantly surprised. For adult fans with more salacious palates, then do take a glance over at patreon.com/Anigomi. Now, what else was there? Oh yes, I remember now. For something truly made to your tastes, why not order a commission at anigomi.com/commissions? Think about it. A piece made just for you. Well, darling, I think I can see the glow of another fire approaching. And I hear glass complaining that it is once again empty. I should go take care of that. And you should take care as well. Farewell.